Hi everyone, this is Miss Sahra and this is part 1 of the science exam review for term 1. As you can see, the mark allocation for lesson 1 is quite a lot, so please make sure that you completely review lesson 1 and you understand the outcomes covered. These are the outcomes that are covered in this video. A volcano is an opening in Earth's surface where melted gas and rock are forced out. So our keywords are opening in the surface of Earth where melted rock and gas are forced out. Another name for melted gas and rock is lava. This lava will become hard and turn into new rock. As we can see, the Earth is made up of big pieces of land and ocean. We have a name for these big pieces of land. They are called continents. So continents are called large land masses. Large land mass, continent. So have you ever gone outside and looked around and noticed that the Earth has different shapes? Well, we call these shapes landforms. And if we look at that in landform, for features. Features are the shapes we find on Earth. Let's look at some common features we find on Earth. Over here we can see our tall mountain. A mountain is the highest thing that we will find on Earth's surface. Then we have a valley. A valley is between mountains. So between mountains we will find valleys. A hill is a small mountain. So when we find land that is higher up but smaller than a mountain, we call it a hill. Hill. A canyon is when we have a U-shaped valley. So my valley, instead of being a V, is now a U. It's a valley with very steep sides. The side is so high up. And I have something called a plateau. Kind of looks like a table. It's high and flat. A plateau, this is what it looks like in real life, is high, tall, like a table, and flat. A plain, not like the plane we fly, plain with an A-I-N means there's nothing on it. It's just flat. This land is flat and it's down. It's not high like plateau, it's down. The next words we are going to look at are ocean, coast, and beach. The ocean is this big area of very salty water. The coast is all the land next to the water. So when we talk about coast, we talk about land that's next to the ocean. They are next to each other. And the beach, we are talking about the sand that's here on the coast. So the beach is the sand and the coast is the land. Now let's look at deserts and dunes. A desert is a place that has very little rain. So it has very little rain. Another word for rain is precipitation. So let me write that word down. Precipitation. It has little or no rain. In the desert, sometimes the land is rocky, like here. Sometimes we see these hills or mounds made of sand. A mound of sand is called a dune. Dune. Now we're going to look at rivers. Rivers are moving water. Moving water. So the water is moving. And an inlet, over here in this picture, we can see that there's a big piece of water and then a small piece of water. When I have big water next to smaller water, I call it inlet. Inlet is just big water next to small water. And the last word from the landforms we need to know is delta. A delta is when the river's mouth, this looks like mouth, at the river's mouth, it drops off some sand that turns into this shaped land, and we call that a delta. So delta is this land at the mouth of the river. We are now going to look at some ocean floor features. So these shapes are under the ocean. So the first thing we're going to look at is this big piece of land is called continent. And this big piece of land is next to our ocean. So there are three words that start with continent because they are right next to the continent. And these words are continental shelf, continental slope, continental rise. So let's talk about the shape of each. Continental shelf is this flat piece of land that starts here as we just start to go in the water. Then it goes down. And when it goes down, I call it continental slope, like a slide. Sometimes it goes up again. When it goes up again, I call it continental rise. Then I get mountains in the ocean. These mountains are called sea mountain. So over here, we can see our sea mountain. There's also all of these. You can see them over here. All of those are called mid-ocean ridges. So the difference between the sea mountain and the mid-ocean ridge, sea mountain is usually quite big, and the mid-ocean ridge is like a line of mountains that's going up. And in the middle of these lines of mountains, we get the V shape. It's going down. And this is our Rift Valley, the valley. Okay, over here is the deepest part of the ocean, and we call that the trench. The trench is the deepest part of the ocean. Our underwater mountains are Seamount and Mid-Ocean Ridge. And our Rift Valley is a valley inside of the ocean. Okay, so does the ocean only have these shapes? No. Actually, most of the ocean is flat. About 60% of the ocean is just flat. So the flattest part of the ocean is called plain, just like we call it on the top of the earth. But so that we know that it's down under in the ocean, we call it abyssal plain. Abyssal plain is the flattest part of the ocean. The last thing to note about the ocean floor is that over here we can see in our continental slope that there are big gaps. These big gaps are underwater canyons. So we do get underwater canyons that form on continental slope. Okay, the last thing we're going to discuss in this lesson is plates and plate boundaries. So the earth is made up of different layers, and the outside of the earth over here where we live is called the crust. And this crust of earth is not just one piece, it's actually broken. And these broken pieces are called plates. So plates are all of these pieces that the earth is broken into. And they are actually moving. And when they move, they bump each other. The place they bump each other is called the plate boundaries. So these boundaries, plate boundaries over here, this is where the plates are moving either to each other or away from each other or past each other. So they can move together, they can move to each other, and when they do that, they make a lot of mountains. If it happens when there's an ocean and a continent, well, you're going to find a lot of mountains on the continent, and you're going to find a trench very close by. And you will even find some volcanoes. Okay, I hope that helped you to understand lesson 1. Please give the practice questions I'm going to send you a try. Thank you.